would you say has been your careful journey so far, and what would stand out for you in that journey?
So I'm a people person. I naturally like to be around people. I think people are fascinating, and I love their stories. And I'm a storyteller. I studied English. I love stories. I love fiction. But it's not always easy to trace a career doing the things that you love, and it has been a bit of a meandering journey for me. So one of the things that I did is I used to do quite a lot of writing for people for free. So I did, and it was things that I cared about. So I'd help with newsletters for church communities or charities. I did quite a lot of volunteering for a charity that helps women and girls who've been rescued from sex trafficking in a few places in Asia. And I think it's through a lot of those experiences, doing things and immersing myself without necessarily a salary in things that I cared about, that eventually gave me a CV that was enough that when I applied to work within academia, not as an academic but as a storyteller, that it was a progression that I couldn't have just jumped straight into. And I hadn't necessarily constructed it knowing that I'd end up here, but it's kind of now that I'm here and I'm able to look back and reflect on it, I can see that there were those careful steps that I was able to take, even though, sometimes at the time you can feel unappreciated and when you're sort of plugging away. But I think they've been really valuable, and I look back on those times, and actually what sometimes felt like a burden or people not valuing my time actually have now been a privilege and a stepping stone into what I do now. And I love what I do now. So it's a really positive journey, I think, to where I've got to. And I didn't know this was where I would end up. And I don't know where I'll be in 5 years' time, but I kind of trust that if I keep going on to the next stepping stone in the way that I've been doing, and I'm fortunate to be able to do storytelling, which I love, but about things that matter to me. I just like to keep doing that, and then we'll see what happens.
And actually, you make me reflect on part of what I found so refreshing, invigorating with care theory as an academic is I spent so much of my career having two sort of separate identities of writing about environmental sustainability and community sustainable action on the one hand, and then in my spare time, in my free time, writing all about human-animal relations, and not really being able to sort of put the two together. And it's actually through care theory and thinking about the more than human, the significance of what we learn from more than human relations, so actually how we practice human relations, and actually that's brought the two together. And so I guess it's that thing that sometimes it's really important to do some things because you're passionate about them, even if you don't know how it's going to come together, or you maybe don't feel it's being valued by other people at the time. But if you can keep going at it for long enough, you can find that pathway that brings the two together.
That marriages the two together.
And then I think both of them benefit. So, it's regularly, if I'm reading work on care theory, I've got notes about, what's to do with horses or animals, and what's to do with humans or communities, and directing it in different places, but it also really comes together. And so, yeah, I think it's really nice to be able to look back now and not know at the time that I was feeling like I was on two separate, complete sort of strands and pathways, but actually they really come together if you hold your nerve and keep going with it, maybe not always with too much intention on where your destination is going to be.